Okay, good evening or good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is in your time zone. Good day to you where you are. If you are new on the channel, this is Frank, and here is a channel where I try to just help out people with one or two things regarding their use of ArchiCAD from time to time. And the channel has expanded to the point where I'm also going beyond ArchiCAD, and from time to time I also explore the use of other software. We have a community on WhatsApp where we communicate regularly and where we also help each other out outside of YouTube videos like this. If you love to join this, there's a link in the description to the video here, and we would love to have you around. That said, let me dive into today's content. There was a post I made recently on our community. This image, it's a building I rendered for a client not too long ago, and someone saw it and he was asking, oh, how do you do the roof and make this portion come above and ArchiCAD handles everything properly? That is exactly what I want to address in this video. So I just used something similar to that design over here, and for confidentiality reasons I can't use the original design, but I'm going to use something reasonably close to it. So as we can see here, the interior is just blank, and then I'm just going to dive right into it. The first thing you want to do is you want to be sure how high are you going to lift out these concrete fascia we have over here. Some call them parapets, whichever name you're comfortable with. How high are we going to lift this particular thing, this thing I'm highlighting right here, and where are they going to be lifted? Take note, if you're going to roof this traditionally in ArchiCAD, what you would do is go into the first floor, because this is a bungalow. If it were a duplex, go to the second floor and so on and so forth. Because of this is a bungalow, go into the first floor and just make sure you are on the multi-plane roof, not the single plane roof. Stay on the multi-plane roof, and then choose your construction method to complex roof or polygonal roof, and then draw out the outline one at a time. I can dive into some other settings for the roof after doing this, but this generally takes a few seconds. If you have a very super complicated building, it could take much more than a few seconds. Alright, go in. If you are seeing any irregular dimensions and it doesn't make sense to you, don't worry, I sketched this without thinking. I really needed this video to go out. I had promised that it would be sent tonight, and I want to keep my promise there. I've not really been posting much on the channel recently, and I have been terribly occupied. Well, enough about me for the meantime. Alright, so here's the roof we have, and we can see it hanging. So I'm just trying to fix it by doing some of those settings I said. So the first thing I did, if you noticed, was I set the offset to 0. It was formerly 800. You can rewind the video briefly if you want to verify that. The next thing I want to do is I want to change the roof structure to the basic structure and not the one that has. So observe the difference between this and this. When I zoom in, you can see that this has two different composites that join to make it a single structure, whereas this is just a single basic structure. The next thing I want is to give the roof a thickness. I typically don't use this because it can be deceptive. It changes with the roof pitch. I go with this, and then I set it to whatever I want the thickness of my roof to be. Take note, this should be the thickness of your roofing sheet. In this case, I'm just going to go with an inch, 25 millimeters. And then I want to drop this to balance here, which is why I opened the elevation earlier. If you're here on the channel a lot, you know that sometimes I easily get carried away because there's a lot of things I kind of do on autopilot. If there's anything I overlooked in this video, feel free to call me out in the comments, or if you're in the community, mention it on the group and we will still have that addressed. Alright, so now we have this, and the guy's question, if I remember correctly, was if you lift this up, does ArchiCAD lift the rest up with it? No, ArchiCAD does not. As much as it's a software that is designed to be used intelligently, it does not have its own intelligence. It's unable to, just by lifting something up, know that that is the intention that you have. So while something like this might feel ideal, I would have to delete it because for this particular case we want to deal with today, it will not work. Alright, so I'm going to delete it. So I said the first thing is to raise these guys up, and depending on how you create it, how you want to raise it up might differ. So as you can see, I have a complex profile named fascia that I use to make these guys. I am going to create another profile based off this, but one that is taller. I hope that makes sense. So I want to make this one, and please, if you are not familiar with how to use complex profiles to do something like this, just watch the video that I'll be tagging somewhere here on this YouTube video, somewhere around here on the screen. Alright, that said, I'm going to try to create a different one. I'm going to call it long fascia. So in order for me to do this, what I'm going to first do is, as I've selected this, I would right click, then I'll click edit selected composite or profile, and once I click on this, it shows me the existing profile. Then I click on this plus icon right here. Alright, and please, the profile manager will always appear. It might not be on this part of the screen for you, it might be somewhere else depending on your screen resolution, depending on your ArchiCAD settings, but it will definitely appear. So I'm going to change the name of this one and name it fascia long. Alright, so it's a duplicate of the existing one, and I'm going to say OK, and it takes me back here to edit, and now I'm just going to stretch the length along this axis. If you are clicking this and it's not happening like this on your PC, please ensure that you have this option here selected. This is usually the default, and you end up having something like this. This is not exactly what we want right now, and it could be slow going to edit the points one at a time, but with the use of this, you could just offset everything as you want. So I'm going to be lifting this to be 750 millimeters higher than the last one. Now please take note, what I did so far was not a lift, I dropped. In order for me to lift, after dropping and having this much taller structure, I am now going to lift from here to this point, and now I have something like this. Alright, so I'm going to say save, and now I have that. So I'm going to go back to the floor plan view. Alright, so for the parts I want to lift up, I am going to select them. I am going to pick this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. I think I'll just go this one, this one, this one, just for some irregularity. So each of these 9 I've selected, and I'm going to change them from fascia to fascia long. If your list doesn't appear like this, just search for whatever name you have on your list. If you're not using ArchiCAD 28, don't worry, this still works. Complex profiles were introduced as far back as ArchiCAD, I think 16 or 17. So to a large extent, whichever version you are using, you are relatively safe. Alright, so I'm going to click on this now, and it doesn't look like it made much difference here. We can see that there is this outline. Let me switch off the trace. And please, if I'm speaking too fast, just work with the captions. I really don't want this video to be very long. I know how boring and tiring it can be to watch long YouTube videos, especially when you're trying to learn something. So I'm intentional about trying to make sure that my content is not that way. That said, I'm going to go into the 3D window, and here is what I have. So now we have this problem where you see these guys angling the wrong way. Please take note, so this has been lifted, this has been lifted, that one over there has been lifted as well. The rest are as they are, which is exactly what we want. So I need to fix these angled edges here. They are not what I want them to be. I was already seeing that here, but I wanted you to observe that it's a problem first before we address it. Alright, so I'm going to select these two, and I'm just going to stretch them inside a little bit. If you are into construction, you would know that doing these things and leaving them exactly at the corner like this is not very safe, because they can be toppled by any load coming from above, in most cases the roof. In some rare cases, it's going to carry something else that is not the roof. So you push it inwards a bit or connect it to a beam that is running inwards, and ArchiCAD really wants you to do that as well. Now observe for the one I have done it that this edge came out exactly as wanted, same thing here, and then we have this. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other two edges, and then I am going to introduce the first part of the roof. I know I said first part of the roof for anyone who is surprised. Yes, the whole roof will not be drawn at once. Alright, so I'm going to click on this, and now I'm going to also stretch them to this point. Alright, so with what we have right now, this is what we have. Looking good so far. If you made it to this point in the video, give yourself a pat on the back. You are actually focused on why you are here. Alright, so the roof. I'm going to go with the roof tool just as I did before, but now I'm going to set this because I didn't make my previous settings the default. I'm going to set the offset to 0. I'm going to set the thickness to 25. If anyone's wondering why the default is so big, ArchiCAD is developed by people in countries where they really need thick roofs because of their weather. It's cold, I'm in a tropical region where we don't really like staying indoors because it's cold. There are countries where people use air conditioners to bring in the heat. Over here, we use it to bring cold because everywhere is too hot. Alright, so sorry for that digression, but it is what it is. Alright, so the roof, I reset this, set this. I could be interested in materials and other things, but that's a bit beyond the scope of this video. I am just focused on getting this roof drawn out as quickly as possible. So I'm going to start here to here, and then observe that I ignored this portion entirely. I drew and went past like it wasn't there. I go here, here. I'm just going to roof only the portion that is not uplifted. I hope that makes sense to anyone watching it. If not right now, somewhere down along the video. I am not going to pay any attention at this point to those parts that are lifted up. So now that I am done with this, let's take a look at what we have. Oh, it went up. Let's use the elevation to fix that. So I'm going to select this. To drag it down, I'm going to click right here and drag it to this point. If you're not comfortable with the angle that you see on the roof like this, when you pull it up or push it down, you can scroll over to this roof edge angle, switch it to vertical, this particular one here, and then you can have something like this where you could just lift it to this point. Now I also noticed that it's supposed to come down here, not up here, because it's not for the guys that were lifted. So I'm going to drag this down here. Alright, so now that I have done this, this is what we have. So there is supposed to be another roof coming in front of here, another roof coming over here, and another roof coming over here. Alright, so what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to copy the properties of this. I'm going to hold the Alt key. Usually it's between Control and the space bar, or between Control and Windows. I'm just going to press the Alt key and click on this, or I could use this eyedropper here, this particular button here, to click on this. That's click this first, then click this next, to essentially copy the properties of this and then use it to redraw another roof here. In this case, I'm going to make this one stretch a little bit, or sometimes a lot, into this, and once I'm satisfied with how far I want it to go, I close it up and I have a box like this. I'm going to do the same thing for the other two parts. If it doesn't make sense yet, just keep watching for a few more minutes and I promise it should make sense. Alright, so that's 2, and the last one is coming. Alright, there we go. Now, when I check this out on the 3D, I don't know what to expect. Alright, so firstly, they're on the same level as the other roof, which is not what I want. So I'm going to lift them up. I'm going to select each of them. Their heights above their current floor is 700. When I add it to the 750 that I used to uplift the other one, I'm going to have 1450. And once I do that, you can see them lining up perfectly where they should be. But that leaves us with another problem. If I were to adjust my display here to show this well, because everything just looks so white right now. So much for adjustments. Alright, but at least I think I got the effect I was looking for here. And I could also see the same thing on simple detailing here. Why I was avoiding this originally was I don't really want this to be focused on colors. That's these videos. This particular video rather. Alright, so we can see something going on here where water is coming in this direction, water is coming in this direction. Nobody wants that. That's a disaster. That's not a way to design. So what to do? I'm going to come over here, click on this face. You know that the water goes one down, 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 down. This is the one I do not want. So I'm going to click on this and then I'm going to go to this custom plane settings here and change that plane type from pitch to Gable. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing for the other ones. Or let's just show you what that did instantly. So you can see what's happened is it's converted that portion to a gable roof. Now if I want to see only that to be sure of what happened, I could just select it and press F5 on my keyboard. I didn't delete everything, they're still there. If I press F5, they come back as you can see. So F5, and then you can see that this portion is no longer sloping downwards. It is just like a gable roof, which is exactly what I want. And to anyone who's reminding me that It's probably under the roof. I know, I'm still getting there. Yes, I did not forget that there's parts of it hiding under here, and I'll show you how to address that. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing to the other ones. This one, I'm going to select it, change this to a gable. I didn't do that. Was that my mouse? Alright, select this one as well, change it to a gable, and there we go. Now you have this. I should put my orbit. Alright, now you have this working well. You also have this working well, and to a lot of people this is already a good point. In fact, if you are not usually very concerned with things like quantities and things and how it might affect your rendering much later, this is good enough to go. If you are very much in a hurry and need to get your rendering done in a matter of minutes, this is good enough to go. If you want to take it a little bit further and see how I manipulate a few other things, keep watching. Alright, so I mentioned some seconds ago, I'm not sure it's been up to a minute yet, that there are portions of this roof hiding under here, which is not good. One of the reasons it's not good is if you are going to use ArchiCAD to calculate quantities of, say for example, the number of square meters for your roof, the total roof area and stuff like that, it's also going to calculate that hidden portion, and well, nobody wants that. So how do we get rid of that? What we're going to do is we're going to select this and this and this, and we're going to go to design, and go to solid elements operations. Click on this guy and it brings up its own mini window or palette, whatever you call it. Alright, so from this pet palette that we have right here, we have two things. There should be three. I'm going to select this again, that are going to be targets. I'm going to add them as targets. Alright, so we have three targets. Then I'm going to select this big roof as an operator. And what I'm telling ArchiCAD to do right now is I want to carry out a solid element operation on 1, 2, 3. And the object that is going to carry that operation out is this big one. So that's what the operator does, and the targets are the one that it is done to. I hope that makes sense. I also have a video on solid element operation. You could just scroll down in my channel's playlist. You are definitely going to find it. So the next thing I want to do now is to say I want it to do subtraction with downward extrusion. In other words, I'm saying ArchiCAD, anything below this roof, subtract it, remove it away. I do not need it, I don't want to see it. And once I click execute, now we have these extra lines that were not here before. And if you're still wondering about these lines that are making it look rectangular, that is not really something to be much bothered about. You could go to view over here, go to on-screen options, and then you could, on-screen options, and then you go to these root pivot lines and deactivate them, and they stop showing, and you see your roof looking just the way it should. Let's get into the 3D window. As you can see, you don't have any hidden parts showing here. Again, if you are wondering why I also went through this stress, when you are going to be doing your section drawing, you are going to see that hidden part of the roof just staring at you there in the section, and you start wondering what you do to it. A lot of people I know will just find fuse and cover it, but how long shall you run away from your sins? You could just do this and that's done. Alright, so now we have this. So I really hope this addressed the question that was asked that day as to how I did the roof like this. I know he wasn't the only one who indicated interest. A few of us also said if the video was posted, I should let them know. Well, here it is. I hope someone gained value from this. And yes, sorry I am, is it blabbering? What's the right word? Not speaking in a very, very organized manner. As I said, I really need to get this done in a hurry. Thanks for watching. If you are not yet a member of the community, I can't emphasize, I don't even need to explain to you, but you don't really know what you're missing. We speak about, in fact, I'm not going to say more than that. If you feel like it, you join. If you don't join, feel free. Please leave a like and subscribe. If there's anything that was not clear about this, ask me in the comments. I should respond soon. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.